Hi, good afternoon. Just gonna give this a second to settle in. Welcome. As you're just checking my phone, this is our daily art demo with Studio Central. Let me just set my camera up. I can see Kristen's watching. Hey, Kristen. So while I'm getting ready, and waiting for people to sort of settle in, and I want everyone to know that my name is James Dixon, and I work with Artbeat Studios. Artbeat Studios is an organization that believes in the power of art and the healing qualities of art, especially with mental wellness and mental health. It's a big part of our directive here as an organization because we believe in the power of art. We are a nonprofit registered charity, and we have 3 locations. We have Artbeat Studios. It's a studio program that people are a part of for a 6-month period. And we also have Studio Central over on Kennedy Street. It's an urban art center. And out of Studio Central, you're on Studio Central's Facebook page right now. Normally when we are open, we are closed right now because of the situation with COVID. Normally when we're open, we offer art workshops, we offer in-person art demos, and because of all the things that have been happening with COVID, we've transitioned a lot of that into online content. So you can meet us here every day at 3:30, around 3:30, and we bring you little workshops, little art demos on some things that we feel passionate about, things that we want to bring creativity to you. So, hey, Lynn is watching. Hey, Lynn, how's it going? I see Christine is on. That's awesome. Marissa, right on. Good to see everyone. So, since people have sort of trickled in, today my art demo is gonna be on still life. Just to sort of go on for a moment, I feel like I do a lot of abstract painting, I do a lot of acrylic painting, and I thought I would sort of take myself out of my boundaries, out of my sort of safety net, and do something a bit more realistic today. So I thought that still life would be a good direction for that. So this past week, we actually delivered some art kits to a lot of alumni, people within the community. And so this art demo I'm doing today sort of ties into that. In that art kit that we brought, there was pencils and there was a pad of paper to draw on. So I thought I would sort of go that route since I'm doing still life, and to know that all you need is a pad of paper and a pencil, and art is at your fingertips. So today, hold on one second. I'm gonna take you on a little tour. I just realized I made some tea, and I really want my tea. Okay. So we're currently working out of my space right now. I'm actually at home. I live out in St. Boniface, and I feel like all of us really recommend when you're settling in to do any type of creative work at your desk or wherever you happen to be, it's always good to have a nice warm drink depending on the day, or a cold drink. I think today, because it's so overcast and dreary, I've chosen a warm drink. So I'm just going to show you what I'm going to be working with. So today, like I said, in those art kits that we brought, there was a sketch pad, and then there was also some pencils. So that's pretty much the only supplies that you need for this type of project. Still life is a very accessible and easy medium for everyone. So this is my pad of paper. So just plain, and then we have just a regular pencil. And that's all the eraser that you really need, just on the tip there. I also have some pens here. Sometimes it's nice to work with ink as well. So you don't need any sort of crazy expensive, professional drawing pen. This is just a standard gel pen. I'm going to work with it a bit as well, just to show that, the tools for creativity can hopefully be at your hands. So I'm going to flip this around. Okay, so the first step I find when I do still life is, just set this up. Okay. Marissa says, your cat mug. I love cats, and that's why I have this this cute little cat mug. So we have ourselves set up with our pad, and then we have our pencil. So when it comes to still life, basically you're drawing an inanimate object. So there's figure drawing, if you're not familiar with, is drawing the human body, which has a lot of shape and a lot of form and movement. Still life specifically is working with objects that aren't moving and they are stationary and in one place. So right now, if you're participating, grab anything that is inanimate for you. So for example, I would say keep it simple as well. I'll show you what I have. I have a bottle. So I'm going to be probably drawing this. I wanted to bring some options to show you, but a bottle works really well. A coffee mug. This is a beautiful mug. It was a gift, and I love it. So again, these are just objects that I've found around my place. I'm not going out and buying stuff. I'm just using what I have in front of me. So a coffee mug, and I thought something to play with is a really sort of standard shape. So we have a box. So you can see that. And then also, I have this beautiful piece of pottery. So I think this has a lot of shape to it, and I love the colors. Although we're not working with colors today, but so that's another shape I picked for an inanimate object. And last but not least, my favorite, a can of Dr. Pepper. Again, just a nice sort of basic shape that acts as your still life, but something near and dear to my heart. Okay, so now that I've selected my objects, okay, when you kind of look at them, because you want, when you're doing a still life, one of the things that I've sort of gleaned from that process is, and which makes a still life picture dynamic, is the shadows that are sort of cast across the object that you're working with. So in my setup, I've decided to create a little bit of shadow. I'm going to show you what I mean in just a second. So I've got a little bit of a lighting setup. I'll show you. Flip this around. So I've got this light right beside my table. And that's my objects. So right now, if like, for example, so you can see it's a little flat, right? Like it's just sort of sitting there. And, to draw that's fine, but I kind of want to have a bit of a more dynamic image. Oh, also, look at that guy. Maybe I'll draw that, but I was watering my plants earlier, so. So what I'm gonna do is hold that thought. So to create a more dynamic image with lighting, I want to sort of create one single light source that's going to come from this side and then hopefully create more of a shadow on this side so you have more to play with. So I'm just going to turn off the lights. And yeah, voila, do you see that? So now just having this one sort of singular light source over here coming down, I've created this sort of shadow here, or not created sort of, I have created a shadow, and you get sort of this sort of cool shadow across there. So I'll show you again. So that's just sort of on its own with lights and not thinking about the lighting setup, but bloop, that's sort of how we're going to be working with the image today. So okay, right on. So that's the basic setup. So if you can do that, or if you're beside a window, you could sort of angle yourself at the side so then the light coming through the window hits the one side of the object and creates that shadow on the other side. So it makes it a little bit more dynamic when you're drawing. Okay, let's see. Kevin's here too. Hey, Kevin. Good, everyone's here. This is great. Familiarity is comforting. So let's adjust this and let's get to it. Just want to make sure I get. Oh, shoot. Oh, we're still there? That was me dropping my phone. That seems to be a common thing that happens when we do our art demos. Okay, so hopefully this doesn't fall. Okay, so just to start, if you are following along, pencil, paper, and then we have the object. So maybe I will start with that can of Dr. Pepper. Okay, so you can see. So your angle, what you're seeing is sort of just from the side. So what I'm going to be drawing is sort of directly what I see in front of me, but just so you can sort of get a sense of where I'm at. So one of the good things when you do still life, which my mom has talked to me about, is not to try to draw what you see right away. A technique that is helpful when you do still life is to draw the basic shape of the image. So for example, this is actually more of it's more of like what would we say that? That's like more of like a rectangle, right? So what I want to do on my paper is sort of translate the same sense of a rectangle. And once I get that rectangle onto the paper, then I'm going to start to draw in more of the shape of the can itself. So let's, I'm going to start with this. Okay. And as we go, I'll lift my hand. I know I'm left-handed, so it kind of blocks my view. I guess I could put the camera on the other side. Let's try that. Oh, look at that. Slide everything around. Okay. Just pushing everything out of the way. All right. So. Okay. So I'm working with my can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw sort of a basic rectangle. gonna bring that line down. So again, I'm just trying to get the basic shape of the image that I'm seeing in front of me. So you're not trying to just draw, you're not trying to draw this can exactly how you see it. So when you are doing still life, it's nice to draw with a lighter hand, so then you can erase some of these sort of first lines that you're starting with. But for today, I'm gonna be drawing a bit heavier with my pencil, so then when I'm done, I can show you, you can kind of see the step that I'm at. Okay. So I'll show you. So this, that's an example of what I mean. So I haven't drawn the can, I've got the basic shape. You can just kind of see that basic shape of it. Okay. So now that we have the basic shape, from my perspective, I'm going to draw what I see. So draw from your perspective, just some of the little details. So for me with the can, I'm going to start with the lid, the lip of the can. So there's a bit of a roundness that I see. So to get that, the can sort of goes in, the corners like this, and then so you can start to draw that shape of the can in that rectangle. So here's more of a circular lip. And like I mentioned this before earlier, but like I'm so abstract. A lot of the work and the painting that I do is abstract. So doing something like this today, this still life, is really taking me out of my comfort zone. And even though it's just a pencil and a paper, this is very, very different for me. So, okay, so now I'll show you. So this is sort of what I mean by what I've done is I've got that sort of curve of the can as it gets to the top, and then it kind of comes down. That's that lip. So what I want to do is get these basic shapes to the can before I actually go in and do any of the details like the tab or some of the shapes inside the can itself. So you really want to get sort of the outline first. Okay. So then the bottom has a bit of a curve to it too. Nice. So now what I want to do is I'm going to erase some of these edges. That initial outline I did, that big rectangle, I'm going to erase some of those details so you can get more of a sense of how the can is coming. I had talked today like, oh, what am I going to do for a still life? And we talked about Nigel, actually, who I believe is watching. Nigel, you mentioned doing an egg. So I actually made eggs after that conversation because it was in my head, and then I realized that I used my last egg. So I can't use that for my still life drawing today. Okay. So now I'll just give you another. So now you can see I've actually erased that rectangular part, the points here, but I still have that original line of the rectangle, but now that's a part of the can. And so I've managed to get the curvature here at the bottom, and then you can see that sort of the can. So this is all from my perspective as well. I feel like I'm not like 100% all about the way the shadow is right now, so I'm just going to adjust this light. There we go. So now what I've created is, you can see from my perspective, there's some shadows here on this side. So I'm going to start to shade in some of the shadows. I'm going to do like a really basic sort of drawing today, just to sort of give you a sense of some of the techniques that I use. So we're just going to take the pencil and you're just going to sort of look where the shadows are on your object, and then look at your paper and then just sort of mimic that. The nice thing about still life is it doesn't move. And you can study its sense of structure and where the shadows are actually following. I'm not sure if you can sort of pick this up, but there's actually a shadow being cast here by the can. So I'm going to, once I get this shadowing done, I'm going to add that to this can as well, or to the ground. So definitely this has a lot of strong shadows on this one side. So I'm going to brush my pencil over this to make it as dark as I can. When I am sketching and when I am drawing, one thing that I really, someone taught me years ago, I feel like a lot of people who do drawing know this, it's a very basic approach to shading, but one thing that I've always loved is cross-hatching. So cross-hatching, where I'm sort of doing this angle with my shading, but I want to sort of fill in the space and make it a lot more, make that shadow heavier, and give it a lot more depth. So to cross-hatch, if you're going this way, then you simply go the opposite way at an angle. So what that does, it sort of helps fill in that lighting and really creates nice shadows when you use cross-hatching. So the way I'm looking at, there's like a strong shadow across the front. So again, using that cross-hatching. The light sort of coming down here, hitting the can, and then creates a shadow. So then what I want to do is create the shadow that's being cast by the can. So I'm going to sort of draw that outline. And this shadow, you can just fill in, just fill it in. So you're gonna make this just sort of one flat shaded area. For the shadow it's casting, you don't have to worry about any sort of texture to the shadow. You just wanna just fill in that shadow, shade it in. So again, so I've sort of used a lot of these lines, so I'm going to do some cross-hatching now. And that's just going to help really fill in that shading. Okay, so that comes around there. So that's just a basic, and again, with still life, like I'm not really, I've never been one for drawing or painting realistic things, but it's sort of nice to take yourself into a different medium, and it sort of can invigorate your headspace and really put your head in a different headspace and opens you up to new creativity. So even though I do abstract art a lot, doing this type of process can maybe affect some of my choices as an abstract painter. I'll think of this when I'm sitting down in front of my canvas. Okay, so now I want to fill in some details in the can. So I'm going to just create this lip of the can. And then there is a tab. I don't want to get too detailed, but so again, I'm just looking at what's in front of me and trying to sort of get that same sense of perspective. It doesn't have to look super hyper realistic. Again, this is today more of an exercise. And something you can use to sort of get back in that creative spirit. And something you can use with some of those items that we had in our art kit that went out. So I'm just sort of drawing some of those details on the top. There's a little bit of shadow in here, so I'm just going to create some of that shadow here to give a little bit of visual texture to the top of the can. There's a bit of a shadow here. And looks like there's some more, it's a little dark here, so we'll put a bit of a heavier line here. I don't normally like drink pop, but when I do drink pop, I tend to drink Dr. Pepper. It's really good. Although I don't recommend drinking pop. So, what can we do? Maybe I'll try drawing the actual label. Let's see if I can do this. So these are just sort of some of the final details you can do to your still life. Like, you don't have to get super, super detailed with what you're drawing. I think one of the main goals of still life is to sort of be able to capture the shape of what you see in front of you on the paper. But just to be fun, I'm gonna write what I'm actually drawing. It looks like we have a bit of a swoop. Okay, so I'm not stopping here. I'm going to do another one. So, but I want to show you what I sort of came up with. So that's my can of Dr. Pepper. Okay. I don't know. I'm kind of into this. So you can see what I mean. So we drew just that sort of basic outline. And then from that, we kept the outline, but then you sort of erase away. You erase bits of the outline when you don't need them, and then you sort of draw in more shapes. And then I moved to the actual shadow that's being cast, and then I tried to sort of capture, that sort of play of light. So you can see here's the light side, it's the dark side. So, Dr. Pepper. So I think I'm gonna do one more, and so I already did that shape. I think maybe I'll do I don't know. If this is in real time, maybe I'll get a poll. So I could either do a coffee cup or I could do a box. Should I do a box or should I do the cup? Post a comment with what you'd like to see me draw as I set up for the next one. So again, just a basic pad of paper and a pencil, and like that's all you need, right? So we're gonna go, woo-hoo. Lynn says the box. Okay, you got it. There's a good backstory to this box. but we'll save it for another time. Okay, so again, as I said before, have a sip. Today I have some chamomile tea. It's really nice, very relaxing. And we're gonna do exactly what we did before with the can of Dr. Pepper, but we're gonna do with the box. And this is actually really nice. Good suggestion, Lynn, because this is actually gonna be more, you're gonna have more harder edges. And I think that'll be a nice sort of, switch it up from like sort of the curves of the can. So I'm just gonna set this up again. Thanks to everyone for coming today. Thanks for joining in. It's really nice to see, it's really nice to see everyone popping in to say hey, and it's really encouraging. I know it's definitely a very different time. It's a very different time for all of us. So I'm thankful that you're here. I'm thankful that that I can do this. So box it is. Okay, so let's make sure we get, I want to make sure everyone can see. Ooh, there we go, look at that, even better. Okay, so again, we just want to sort of create, you want to create the basic shape that you see in front of you before you actually go into any kind of details. So for me, the box, I'm going to, it's actually, for me, from my perspective, it's a bit of a diamond shape. It comes down, so like perspective, but I'm going to start that way. So I'm going to start with the top. If you have a ruler, I didn't mention that before, but if you have a ruler, that can really help sometimes too. So we're just gonna go this. Because if I had a ruler, I could probably technically make like a perfectly square box, but this will not be perfectly square, but I think that sort of plays into, gives it a bit of an abstract feel, which I like. Okay, so I'm sort of just look and get those sort of main basic lines. So I've gotten the top, and then I'm just going to draw these sort of basic lines, okay? There we go. Nice. Fun. It's like a little wonky, but let's be easy on yourself as you're doing this. I know this could be a new technique for you. As I said myself, I've sort of gone out of my boundaries a bit. My shape is a little wonky right now, and I'm okay with it. I think that that's a part of the process. Okay, so the box has a lid actually, so I've drawn just the hint of that lid. And I think for this, before I do any shading on the box, this time I'm gonna draw the details. I think that makes sense for me right now. So there's a little bit of a latch here. You can see, so I wanna get that latch onto my picture. So. And again, we're not shooting for like photorealism here. Today we're drawing and we're sketching to, as a kind of exercise to sort of get your creative juices flowing. Okay, right on. So you can see I drew the latch there. And now I'm gonna do the, let's do the shading. Perfect. So now my box has a darker shade on the left side. So to create that shadow, I'm gonna go a little bit heavier with my pencil here. Okay, good. And I can use cross hatching again to give more depth to that shadow on this side. Now for the front, the shadow is actually a little bit lighter. So I'm going to do the same thing I did on the side, but I'm only going to do one layer. So for this side here, I did two. I did like a full sweep and then I did a second sweep with the cross hatching. For this front side, I'm just going to do one. And it is a shadow, so you still want to, like, you know, be a little bit heavy with that pencil so you can see what it is. So another technique that I like to use a lot, chalk pastels, I think we've talked about this, but I use my fingers to sort of play with some of the shading. So I'm just going to take my finger on both the front and the side, just to blend that pencil in to give it more of a smoother finish. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to create the shadow. So very simple here. So just look at where the shadow is and then try to, as best as you can, get those lines. So with the shadow again, with the first picture, you're gonna fill in that shadow and it's all gonna be one uniform, very dark shade. So I'm pressing a lot heavier with my pencil right now. I'm just gonna fill this in right to the corners. And for the shadow, I'm gonna use a little bit of cross hatching. I'm gonna use a heavier pencil. I'm gonna use my fingers right after this to blend it. So you want your shadow to be very uniform. The shadows on the box itself have variation, like the front side is lighter and the side of the box is darker. But for the shadow, when you do still life, it should be very strong, solid, uniform shadow. So we're filling in. Ooh, this is looking nice. And I think this is a good example of taking something as simple as a box, the simplicity of this shape, and how exciting it is to lay it down on the paper, you know? So I'm going to use a little bit of cross hatching here. Yeah, I like this. Cool. Okay, and now, like before, I'm going to use my fingers to blend this in. So the top of the box is actually, it's flat, and there is no sense of shadow or texture. The only thing is the design that's on it. So I think I'll just quickly do this design. So you want to sort of reflect the direction. So this part's very easy. You sort of want to make sure you get that sense of the way the letters are, so they're a little bit flatter from my perspective. Looks like there's an arrow. Isn't this box just beautiful? This is a very beautiful and prized box that I have in my life, and I love it. Okay, so I'm gonna actually do this. So that is the box that I came up with. And drum roll. So that's the box in real life. And then if we pan down here, you can see that's my version. So it's not totally perfect, but you do get a sense of the perspective, how I have, you can see how this shadow here is darker. And then I tried to make this shadow on that side darker. Yeah, so just to give you a sense of that object. So that's my demo. I just want to say thank you for tuning in today. It's really nice to see everyone here. It's really, you can't believe how much I love connecting with people through these art demos, and I love seeing your electronic faces, little comments popping up. So today has been really nice, and I hope everyone, you know, I'm not a still life master, but I hope that you are able to glean a bit of creativity from this. It's nice to sort of sit down, and it's nice to sort of put yourself into a creative mode. The effects of it, I think, are well beyond just a paper and a canvas. It all comes down to us, our heart, and our minds. And I'm thankful to be here today. And yeah, I guess I'm gonna say adios and have a great afternoon, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.